Hello, Jess. Are you in the meeting?
Jess was saying he has problems with his audio. I think he may need some help. Okay, so we have.
This is Jeff. The topic today is Walkway Auditing, and today we have an expert in the industry, Brent Johnson, who I met, I guess, about 7 or 8 years ago, and he is one of the first people in the country to become certified as a walkway auditor. And what we wanted to do today was to give an overview of what walkway auditing is, the basics, how it affects employers, employees, the general public, and particularly those that have any type of a facility that the general public would come into, such as a restaurant, a hotel, a hospital, large municipal buildings, anywhere that an employee would walk where the floors could be considered slick, either with or without water, but most of the time, if there's some moisture on the floors, that's where the concern is. And so what we're going to do is just get started with Brent. And Brent, thanks so much for agreeing to participate today. The event, as I told you a little bit earlier, is being recorded for most of those that have restaurants and businesses where they can't actually listen today to hear the talk. So we'll archive it, and then Acela at the end will tell how we can access that at a later date through YouTube. But Brent, if you could give us a little bit of a background about you and how you got into your current role.
Well, thanks, Jess. I appreciate being here. The way it was purely by accident. I was working for Texas Health Resources, one of the largest hospital groups in the country, and got to know a doctor, was doing facilities management, built out his facility for him, and got to be good friends. And this opportunity came up for him. He's Dr. Howard Harris. He's the medical liaison for the National Floor Safety Institute. And we saw an opportunity. Things were changing in the hospital industry. And so we took it, and I was the very first person to pass the NFSI's walkway auditing class and get my certification. And so for them, I did all types of safety work. And so it was just a natural segue into this industry. And we started that in 2006, and we're still going. It's evolved a good bit, but we still do work for major corporations and a tremendous amount of work, unfortunately, in the legal industry.
The industry's currently is really solid. I've seen a lot of rapid expansion over those years, and I didn't realize. I knew you were one of the first ones. I didn't know you got the first certification from the National Floor Safety Institute, which, by the way, is headquartered in Southlake, Texas, as well as where Brent is located in Southlake. And I guess the origination of it, if you could give us a little bit of elaboration on this, that it started with OSHA getting into safety. Could you just give us a little bit of background there, how this actually got into being where it is today?
All right. Well, OSHA, as you know, is concerned with the safety of employees and safety of workplace. And one of their things that is one of the largest, if not the largest, claim group is slip and fall, either from elevation or what we use and what we control is falls on the same level. And that is consistently one of their top claims and top violations. Then the ADA got involved through OSHA, and both of them, while not very, they're very much like the government in general. They don't get real specific. They're very vague, but you've got to kind of read into it what they're looking for. And they expect flooring or walkways to be maintained in a safe manner. And so the NFSI came along after that, because maintained in a safe manner is, once again, very vague, very gray. It depends on who's interpreting it. And so the NFSI came along through and became a standards developing organization for ANSI. And ANSI was the largest promulgator of safety standards, or of standards in general. And so because the NFSI became a standards developing organization, we developed safety testing standards so that organizations, when they would get, I would go out and test for an organization, and they would say, because it had an OSHA complaint, and we would, be able to tell them objectively, because this is what the national standard was, if their floors really were in fact slippery, or if it was just someone's subjective opinion that it was slippery. And then we would give them ways to fix the problem if there were one, or many times they would just take my report, put their cover sheet on it, and send it in to OSHA, and OSHA would say, great, that's all we need. We know that the floor is in compliance with the national standards.
Well, I know that you use equipment in the process, and I had seen this when I first started learning about it, and went over to the NFSI and met with Russ. I think it's a turbometer. Could you just give a high level on, how do you determine if a floor is slick?
Well, we use a device called a turbometer. A little bit of background, the majority, or probably half the turbometers have all come from Europe. Europe was a leader on this because it was involved with and through their governmental agencies. Here, it's not at this time involved through government. It's all voluntary. But the turbometers is just many people remember in junior high, high school, college, their science class measuring coefficient of friction. They used a small scale and different weights and pulled them along and entered the math into a formula. Well, that's what we use, only on a computerized scale, because it's much, much more exact and precise. You can still purchase those that you pull by hand, and they are what we call approved, and I'll get into that in a second. But all we do is measure the coefficient of friction, the static or the dynamic / kinetic coefficient of friction. And what we're measuring is the propensity for slips and the propensity for slides on a walkway surface. The static coefficients of friction is the potential for slip. So that initial slip, many people have done it. Oop, I've slipped a little bit, and they've caught themselves. That initial, where the heel lets go, that is static coefficient of friction. The potential for slide is after that slip happens, what's the potential for that heel to continue to slide like you would on ice? And usually that results in a disastrous fall. We've all done it, or the vast majority of people have done it, and it usually doesn't work out well for them. As far as the turbometers themselves, we suggest that if you hire a walkway auditor, be it us or someone else, ensure that they use an approved turbometer by the NFSI. National Floor Safety Institute is a nonprofit organization that concerns itself with slip and fall safety and standards. And so they have a process, an engineered process that people have to put their devices through, and it has to pass so that, no matter what device you choose, if it's an approved device, they're all going to read the same. And that was not the way it always was. But if it goes through that approval process, it has a standardized group of reference surfaces, and it has to read a certain coefficient of friction on those reference surfaces. So, that's our way at the NFSI of ensuring that people are getting what they pay for, and that the tests that are done are standardized tests.
Well, if you find out you learn through this process using the thermometer that the coefficient of friction is not where it should be, what are the measures that an employer, the owner of a facility can take? I mean, just if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure. Well, number one, the reason that you want to know this is because if it's for your employees, if you don't have public invited, that's your biggest asset is your employees. And the greatest claims for insurance is slip and fall. And whether it's having to replace them for a while or pay for their medical, those types of things, slips and falls are extremely expensive. And so you want to be sure to begin with that your walkways are safe. Not to mention, if you invite the public in, then it becomes an entirely different process, because if they slip and fall, like I said before, fully 60% of our business is with the legal profession after a slip and fall has happened. And so prevention is the key. It just takes one, and that's a hugely expensive proposition.
Excuse me for interrupting, but when you find out, I guess we're trying to go with this.
Yeah.
When you determine that the floors are slick, what measures can be taken at that time?
Well, there's a couple of ways. Yeah, there's a couple of ways you can go, and your auditor should, if they've taken the Walkway Auditing certificate holder class at the NFSI, which I would suggest don't let anybody in to do it unless they've taken that class. But they will be able to suggest different routes depending on what type of flooring you have. If you go to the nfsi.org website, there's an entire list of high traction certified products that if you are maintaining your floor, or you've got somebody else, a contractor doing it, that they can take these high traction products and use those on the floor. And they have been tested in outside labs to ensure that they maintain a high traction surface, or keep that walkway where it is the risk is the lowest for a slip and fall. We carry one. We have our own product, because when we first started doing it, that was the first question out of everybody's mouth. Okay, well, great. What do I do about it? And so we purchased a product called Traction Plus. It's on the NFSI website. It is certified high traction, and there are others. Ours doesn't work for everything. And so that's my suggestion to anyone. If you're not using an NFSI certified product, that you, at this time, go to the nfsi.org website, contact someone that carries that, and get your distributor, if that's who you purchase from, to start carrying it and start using an NFSI certified product. That alone will give you much better results in how slippery your floors are.
Well, and when we talked in the past, you've indicated that you'll go into businesses and they'll say, yeah, we clean our floors nightly. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? What's the standard practice most cleaning of the floors? How's it handled?
Well, I know, just go back to the other day when we had lunch, and that floor was, I would say, extremely slippery. I believe you would agree with me. And they would tell you they clean their floors every night, but there's multiple places that we have contacted and contracted with to do studies on their floor cleaning protocols and how they do it. And the first thing we notice is they use the least expensive products that they can get away with. They put forth no effort. And one of them, I just saw it again the other day, testing at a hotel restaurant where a lady had slipped and fallen. And what are they using on the floors every night? Dawn dishwashing detergent, because it moves grease out of the way. Well, the problem is all of those products like that leave a residue on the floor. And so if somebody spills a drink or water or anything, that product is what's it supposed to do? It's supposed to get slippery so that the grease and or dirt or soil, whatever, will release. And so that's what it does on the floor as well. And so you need to utilize a product that doesn't leave a residue. Residues will attract soil, make your floor appear dirtier. So as a result, you need to use something that's intended for the floor. And like I say, I never recommend anything that's not on the NFSI high traction list, just for the simple fact that the majority of the time it leaves a residue that gets slippery, slippery when wet.
Well, another thing that you pointed out when we were having lunch is, and I didn't even think about it, you had looked over and you said, well, watch those waiters and waitresses coming with the food. And I said, well, what are they doing? And you said, look where they're walking. And I didn't even think about it. They're walking into the kitchen where grease is flying up all the time onto the floors, and they're tracking that back out onto the floors where they're serving and where the customers are walking. In addition to the employees. So I guess there's a lot more behind this than just meets the eye, but it's what's in front of the eye a lot of times too, that we don't even realize what we're doing. I know that you've done a lot of work for many different businesses and industries across the country, but could you give an overview of the type of clients that make up your customer base?
All right. Well, to go back to what you just talked about, that's the advantage of a walkway audit. Instead of someone just coming in and testing one area of the floor, that they do a complete audit, and so that we can see how the traffic moves. What do people do? Where do they come from? And just like that restaurant, they were bussing their own tables. They were getting the food for the tables, and where were they going? Back in the kitchen, dragging that right back out. And they didn't even have mats at the kitchen door. So it was just, a transfer of soil. And so, we utilize auditing in that way. Now, I'm sorry, what was that original question, Jess?
Well, that's where we're going with the industry that you spend most of your time in, and without naming just some of the different types of industries. That,
okay.
I know they're entertainment and a lot of other things, but you're all over the country, right, doing these audits.
Correct. I travel all over the country doing this, and we do it for just businesses that are strictly employees. We have laboratories, just commercial businesses that they've either had an accident or they've had complaints a lot of times, and that's what starts it. And then we'll do a complete audit, look at how things are done, and go from there. We do a lot of restaurants because of the grease factor. and how they're cleaning. And we've gone in and made suggestions to, they need to change the way they clean, when they clean, change the patterns, the walking patterns of the employees. Sometimes they take our advice, sometimes they don't. But you name it, and we've probably been in there everywhere from DFW Airport, doing work both for them and for people that are suing them. And then, like I said, 60%, our largest is defense and plaintiff attorneys. And of that, we probably work very close 50-50 to because of plaintiff and defense, because of what we do is it's not subjective. It is very objective in the data that we provide. And so we're working for the truth and not necessarily just for the plaintiff attorney or the defense attorney.
And when I'm inquisitive about this, we haven't discussed this, but when you're working for the plaintiff attorneys, because you get called into those, you said, what percent of the defendants are oblivious to walkway auditing and the processes they should be using to maintain course floors?
Probably very close to 100%. Before this happened, they had no idea. I've had plaintiff attorneys. That's the main question they ask. Well, it's been a year since this happened, and they know we're coming. Surely they're going to do something to the floor to change the coefficient of friction. And my response is always the same. They don't believe that they have a problem. And very often, probably 75% of the time, we get in there and they actually have a problem, that their floors are low traction and very slippery, very high risk surfaces. But yet they don't believe it till they see it. And then a lot of times I get contacted after the fact by their attorneys, and they ask, what can they do to remedy this problem? A large hotel chain, just recently, because they had several bathtub slip and falls, and wanting to know, and I'd work for them as on the defense side. And how do we cure this problem? And so we showed them products that they could use. It's very simple. It happens in all of these products. You can use them just in the course of your daily cleaning. You just switch from the Dawn dishwashing detergent to the high traction floor cleaner. And so you don't have additional expense. You're just using a higher quality cleaner. So when you're using those cleaners, you don't spray grease around like the place in the Dawn anymore. But I know you and I have worked on some things in the past where you've given us discounts for multiple locations and for Higginbotham. I know that if we came to you and we had a chain or something like that, you'd make us a much better deal, quote unquote, for doing the work there. But if you had a single location, what's an average cost? And someone out there is concerned about, hey, I have this floor and this sounds all well and good, but man, I don't want to spend a ton of money on this. What would this be let's say it's in Dallas, Fort Worth, and they haven't had any big issues, and you're just asked to come and do a general audit. What would be the cost of that audit, number one? And then number two, let's say it's 10,000 square feet or whatever, not a real big place. How much would it cost them a month to use the better products? All right. As far as the cost, usually a lot of what you see in the facility, that's less than half of what's going on. So, but it's normally if it was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're talking $1,800 to $2,000 for a single location, and then we would negotiate a deal on multiple locations after that. And as far as the costs, that's depends on, you have some places that clean their floors, they mop their floor 3 times a day. And so much of that depends on what their protocols are. Is it more expensive than Dawn dishwashing detergent or some of the cheaper chemicals? It is, but the results are much, much better. And so if they're spending, a gallon of it, gosh, I don't even know. I'd have to get with some of the distributors of different products, but they run the gamut from, $50 a gallon to $300 a gallon. The $300 a gallon, I'll tell you, don't do it. It works, but it's not worth $300 a gallon. There's less expensive products that will work just as well. And so there are distributors, just get on the website, the NFSI website, and choose the one. If you call Traction Plus, you're going to be talking to me, and we can get you lined up with a distributor. If you've got a distributor that you use, we can line it up where they can carry it and deliver it to you. We work with people like that all the time. So just know that it can be very comparable to what you have now.
From working together in the past, I know when we have multiple locations, there are usually a concentration of claims. And I know on the one that we worked that had 20 some locations, there were like 5 or 6 that were the problem locations, and the other ones didn't have much at all. So in those cases, instead of having to perform an audit at all 20 whatever locations, we concentrate on those 5 or 6. So for an employer or someone out there that's concerned about this and the cost, gosh, I don't want to pay $1,800 or $1,500, negotiating the price down per location. Well, you might not need all the locations done. But if they have a safety person that you can work with, and I know that you do that on other ones that you do, and you said that you had some major league sports teams and some huge hotel chains. You're not going to all those hotel chain or all those restaurant locations individually. You're going to the top how many they've had problems with, and then their safety person can put it across the board as far as protocol to use to actually clean the floors and what products to use. And when you're buying them in bulk, they probably get a better price also. But anyway, we're about at our half-hour point now, and I think we've done a really good job of you have in covering the basics and a lot of the details. We don't have many folks on today because of it being lunchtime, and those in the hospitality business won't be around. But if anyone had a question, my cell phone, you can shoot me a text message, is 214-546-6575.
They can share it on the chat also. We have a chat here on Zoom, and I'm able to see it. So
yeah, go on, Estelle, if you don't mind, put that on there.
Okay.
While you're waiting on that, let me respond to that last thing you said. Because you can do it that way. You can, if you've got 20 locations, you doing your top 5, and that does show some due diligence. However, if you have a slip and fall in one of the ones that's not audited, then it's not going to, it might even reflect poorly on you that you didn't think highly enough to get all of them done, that you were just going at things haphazardly or halfway. So it has pluses and minuses in doing it that way.
Okay, good point, Brent. Where do you see, I guess in closing here, when I first got into this, and I was really intrigued by the fact that OSHA had started this, that we need to let all employers, I'm an insurance broker, as you know, we need to let all of our clients know that, hey, you better have clean floors. But as I got into it deeper, I realized that while that is a primary concern, the safety and protection of the employees, it was even more of a concern from a liability standpoint. So if those floors are there's an implied warranty that those floors are safe to be safe for the general public, because they're to be safe for those employees. And what this walkway auditing has done, this industry now, it's created more exposure for employers and owners of hotels and other areas that have slate floors, not to even forget about anyone in food processing. I mean, so you just let your mind go anywhere there can be a wet, slick floor somewhere. Those employers have a big exposure, and even a larger exposure if the general public is walking on those same floors that are implied as to be safe. So without that, and I haven't seen any questions at all here. Is there anything else in closing that you would like to say about it, Brent? Where do you see the future going for employers in this area?
Well, the thing of it is, we have changed everything. Our business has changed. There are even more lawsuits today than there were pre-COVID, which just I don't understand that. But it's amazing how many calls I'm getting now versus I was before COVID, considering the number of brick and mortar places that have shut down. And so I think the attorneys are getting more aggressive in how they handle these cases. So the thing of it is, we're moving to try to encourage everything from entertainment to commercial buildings, things of that nature that are still going on, especially the restaurants, because they have the most exposure to that because of just the environment that they're in. To at least do the high traction floor cleaning if you don't do the auditing. And we're looking at different ways that we can do audits and be able to do them less expensively, where it's not a full-on audit, but an abbreviated type audit, just to give them an idea of are our cleaning protocols working? Because the thing of it is, what we say is you have to have an evidentiary trail of due diligence. And so if you're using a high traction floor cleaning protocol, and you have us out and we go through and do 10 tests throughout the area and charge you an abbreviated price to do that, and we do that a couple of times a year, then that's we've discovered that plaintiff attorneys like to win. They don't like to take cases that they believe they're going to lose. And so that's going to abbreviate your legal bills when they discover that, hey, we're taking care of our walkways in a high traction manner. We've got proof of that. And a lot of times when they see that, they don't want to take the case. So that would be, the things to watch out for in our industry is to not do the full-on audits, but just come do an abbreviated test protocol if they're doing a high traction floor cleaning protocol.
Okay, well, Brent, once again, thanks so much for taking time today to go over this with us. And I know that we're gonna have more questions and folks looking at this on. We're gonna have a link on our Facebook page, right, Estella?
Right, right.
Those who couldn't make it today can review that, and I'm sure you and I will be talking again soon. So thanks again so much, and for everyone else for attending today. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank
They
you,
can get
Jess.
to our website and
Yes.
contact me through the website at www.tractionauditing.com. And we've got a contact page on there. And if they've got any questions, want to contact me, just shoot me a phone call or an email.
Well, I appreciated this. I didn't truly understand what it was about at the beginning. And I know Jess briefly, informed me, but it's like a whole new area that most of us are not, very acquainted with. But we all know people in the restaurant business. We all know people in the retail business. We are a chamber of commerce, so these are our members. So thank you, because now we have someone that we can actually refer them to. We know, you are the expert on this, so this will help tremendously. Just as we are a resource center, so now we know, you are a good resource for us. Lawyers, we have plenty of lawyers on our list, so I think definitely you may be getting some calls from that. Anything else? Anybody else? Really apologize for the technical difficulties here, but I think it worked out just fine. I think, Jess, thank you so much for moderating. And Mr. Johnson, we look forward to meeting you in person. Maybe we'll have some time to meet you and chat. And thank you all for attending. We will have this available later on YouTube, and we'll put the link to YouTube so you can share with your friends. And we'll have a great lunch, everyone. Have a great week. Today is the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. So Viva La Paz. Whatever you want to celebrate today is a great day to have a celebration. Thank you, Mr. Blackman, for attending. I'm sorry, I probably pronounced your name wrong. Andrew Blackman.
No, that's correct. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us.
You
and
betcha.
Julia and Gilberto and Terrence and Juanita. I don't see everybody's name, but thank you for attending. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye-bye.